Shake on It by its_Kingston on AO3. Episode 17. Chapter 17. Amity dearie, please come down here. Adia called from the living room. Though her voice sounded cheerful, she was anything but. The mask of Haspinius was a facade, a cover for the business. Anyone would rather buy things from good people. Luz, stay up here. I'll be back soon, Amity said. Her arms were plastered to her side as she swiftly walked away. Her posture was currently the straightest thing about her. Amity quickly got herself together, breathing deeply and evenly as she briskly walked down the stairs. Good evening, Mother. I trust business went well with your clients. Ah, Amity, it did, Adia said, clapping her hands together and turning around. Her smile quickly turned into a frown as she narrowed her eyes at her daughter. I see you've been up to something other than your studies, Adia stated, observing Amity's change in hair color. Yes, Mother, I decided to change the color, Amity blankly responded, all sense of human emotion covered up and hidden deep. As Luz crept to the edge of the staircase, she heard the conversation clearer. Though she didn't know Amity's mother, Luz was already put off by the way she spoke. Her tone of dissatisfaction seemed to put her above anyone who opposed her. Oh, I see. Well, this is... Adia paused, a wicked grin spreading across her face. An unfortunate mistake on your part. We could use this to get further above our already distant competitors, yes. We can say that self-expression is important to our brand. Everyone loves the inspirational message. She took a step closer to Amity, analyzing her expression. You will dye it again, eventually, and next time you will listen to me and dye it green. This statement sounded more like a compliment, rather than an insistent. Amity had described it. Luz slowly clenched and unclenched her fist, anger building up as she listened to the conversation. Sorry, Mother, of course. Amity tipped her head down, focusing on the floor. Now, onto your studies. I've heard from Basha that you threatened to have her removed from the school, along with the fact that you've been seeing with another student on numerous occasions. Care to explain? Adia asked, her tone condescending as she glared towards her daughter. Of course, Mother. Amity looked down, making proper eye contact, as she began taunt. Basha interrupted my academic career by distracting me in ways such as bullying others and gossiping. I simply threatened to remove her so I could continue my studies and hasten my competition of school. She spoke in a graceful and coarse manner, saying exactly what Adia wanted to hear. Good job, Amity dear. Adia placed a chilling hand on Amity's shoulder, squeezing just tightly for it to be accidental. What about the transfer student? When she entered the school, our semester exams were 2 weeks away. In those 2 weeks, she rose to 4th place. I began studying with her, as her academic focus and skill was higher than mine, than someone of Basha's. Therefore, I found it beneficial to become acquainted with her. Amity stopped once Adia seemed satisfied with her answer. Very good, dear. Adia removed her hands from Amity's shoulder and paced backwards. When could I meet her? Amity stood in silence, unsure of what to say. Amity? Adia's voice seemed to echo through the sudden large room, freezing her brain and drying her throat. Amity was stuck in place, rooted to the spot, with no hope of getting out. Her confidence was completely drained from dealing with her mother, who always seemed to ask one more question than Amity could handle answering. Before her mother could speak again, a noise was heard from the staircase. Luz slowly walked down, giving Amity the small bit of confidence she needed to speak. This is the transfer student. Luz stopped at a step in front of Amity, tipping her head down in respect to Adia before meeting her eyes, as she had seen Amity do. Pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Blight. I'm Luz Noceda, Hexside's transfer student, and 4th ranked on the semester exams. Luz spoke clearly and confidently, mimicking the manner she heard Amity speak in. The pleasure is mine. I've never heard of your family before. Tell me, what do they do? Adia chose her words carefully in an attempt to extract information. I am solely here to stay with my aunt to attend Hexside. I'll say this as politely as possible, Mrs. Blight, but my family is none of your concern. Luz smiled fakely and watched as Adia did the same. Amity watched with bated breath as Luz went against her mother, the woman she had never been able to challenge. Ah, of course. It is quite impressive to get into Hexside when you do not come from an upper-class family, Adia said, gritting her teeth, and lying the compliments on thick. Thank you, ma'am. It is truly an honor to be able to study with and learn from your daughter. I hope we'll be able to continue working forward together. Luz said, her fake smile slowly shifting to a genuine one as she thought of Amity. Luckily for Luz, the thing that mattered most to Adia, second to her business, of course, was her children. Or rather, her ability to brag about her children. To her, they were simply there to take over her successful business and to be put on a public pedestal. I bet it is, Adia said through a smile. My daughter would also benefit from a close rivalry. I trust you will continue to push my daughter forward and make sure she doesn't fall victim to shenanigans of any sorts. It would be my pleasure. You can count on me, ma'am. Luz said back, firmly, her answer concrete. Edric? Emira? Adia's attention turned to the twins, who both stood up and smiled in unison. Take care of your dear younger sister while I'm gone. I only stopped by to check on you three. I have to leave again. Of course, mother, the twins said, nodding their heads in acknowledgement. Good, Adia stated coldly before turning around and disappearing out the door as quickly as she showed up. Luz was the first to speak. Prevent shenanigans? Am I the shenanigans? Luz explained, turning around. Seriously, though, I thought she was going to kill me. All the way dead. I had to laugh, patting Luz on the back. I did too. Amity ran up and grabbed Luz by the shoulders. A concerned look spread across her face. What were you thinking? She could have prevented us from talking ever again. Luz smiled reassuring. As if I would let that happen. Luz brushed the comment off and quickly realized Amity was serious. Even the twins looked nervous. Well, it didn't happen, so it's okay, Luz said, swallowing her fear and focusing on the good. Yeah, I guess so. Amity cheered up a little, a small smile crossing her face. So, who taught you how to talk like that? She laughed, greatly amused by Luz's upper-class dialect. Oh, I just copied you. Luz grinned, giving a thumbs up. The twins laughed and congratulated Luz before running back upstairs to finish their movie, claiming they might have to restart it since audio ruined the good part. Amity watched them run upstairs before putting Luz into a tight hug. Thank you for stepping in. I didn't know what to say. She spoke into Luz's jacket, her face pressed tightly to her shoulder. Luz quickly returned the hug, muttering a quick, That's what friends are for. Before cringing away the last bit, that left her from Adia's encounter. Luz and Amity grew closer after the close encounter with Adia. The pair seemed to forget about the awkwardness that prevented them from talking at school, their main focus on the upcoming exams. Though, as hard as Luz tried to shove away the continuing growing feelings for her friend, she accepted the fact that she was going to have to bring it up soon. After exams, when I win, I'll tell her, Luz stated, at the man Banlier for the rest of the week, spending all her time studying and hanging out with Amity. If they weren't at school, luckily the gossiping seemed to have died down, probably from Adia stepping in. Basha hadn't been seen in a few days, though her name still remained on the roll call list, making it hard to tell if she was kicked out or was playing hooky. The normally buzzing halls of Hexside was suspiciously quiet. An unnatural feeling of stress has engulfed most of the confidence of the students as the final exams approached. There was only the occasional passing conversation in the dead quiet corridors to distract everyone from their mindless task. The school is weird around this time of year, but everyone is worried about finals, Amity explained to her from their spot at the lunch table. She was talking to Luz, who sat across from her. Exams are tomorrow. I'm pretty stressed about it too, since it makes or breaks your entire future, Luz said, stressing the final words. You'll be fine, Amity assured her, placing a comforting hand on top of Luz's. You came in fourth. Now you're going for first. Not that you'll beat me. She said that last part playfully, earning an eye roll from Luz. As if I'll lose. That's what everyone says before losing. The bell chimed louder, breaking up the conversation between the two. See you after school, Luz said, smiling contently. Amity hummed in agreement, before waving and walking away, presumably to their next class. Luz gripped her hands together, suddenly missing the warmth of Amity's hands on hers. Saturday, once we get our scores, and I win. Luz knew saying it over and over wouldn't make it come faster, but she might chicken out if she didn't spend the week hyping herself up. Oh, geez. It's morning already? What if we skipped school today? Luz said, groggily, squinting at the light coming through the blinds. Amity had already gotten up and was attempting to wake Luz. Keyword, attempting. Nope, we've got exams to take. If you don't take yours, it won't be fun winning. Amity argued back, drawing the blinds fully open. Foul play, Luz half yelled, covering her eyes as she sat up. Amity laughed, and threw an extra uniform at Luz before leaving the room. She's gonna kill me one morning, Luz mumbled as she got dressed. Luz began heading downstairs, but stopped when she saw Amity standing at the bottom, talking to one of the twins. A mischievous grin spread across Luz's face, as she quickly ran down the stairs, shouting, Revenge! She scooped Amity up in her arms, holding her up bridal style, and parading her around. Ed, who was talking to Amity, used the opportunity to quickly call Em into the room. Em rounded the corner and saw Amity in Luz's arms, deciding to take a picture for later. Amity was laughing as Luz declared her revenge for opening the blinds so early. They both laughed and talked as Luz carried Amity around the house, refusing to put her down until they actually had to leave for school. Well, that was a fun morning, Ed said as he watched Luz and Amity run out the front door, panicked about being late for finals. Em nodded in agreement before quickly turning to Ed. We go to the same school as them, she said blankly. Ed looked confused for a moment, before catching on. We're gonna be late, he yelled, dragging Em out the door as she hastily locked it behind them, dropping the keys at least 3 times. Hurry up! Classes were divided the same way they were for semester exams, Luz and Amity having the same test block. Please, not the scary teacher, please, not the scary teacher. Luz crossed her fingers as she walked in with Amity, slowly shifting her gaze to the teacher's desk. Yes! Luz pumped her fist in the air, probably confusing Mr. Jackson, who sat in the chair behind the desk. Once all the students were seated, the papers were passed out, and the teachers called attention to the front of the room. Okay, class, this is your last exam of the year, hence the name, final exams. If I catch you cheating, I will take your test and mark it 0. If I catch you talking, I will take your test and mark it 0. Understand? The class nodded and hummed in agreement, getting approval from the teacher to start working. Luz felt nauseous from stress. Sure, she knew the answers, but being put on the spot to answer them? It could be considered cruel and unusual punishment. She put her pencil down and closed her eyes, resting her head in her hands. In and out. Deep breaths. Take your time. Luz reminded herself, picking up a pencil with renewed confidence. About 5 hours later, all 4 tests were completed, and Luz was incredibly excited, but sickenedly scared to see her score. I can't believe they're making us come to school on Saturday to see our scores, Amity mumbled, coming out of the class behind Luz. You sound just like the twins, Luz said back as she began walking towards the exit. Oh no, I need to get away from them before I start timing my sentences like they do. Amity groaned in annoyance, causing Luz to laugh. You could stay over at the shack if you want to, Luz suggested, mentally patting herself on the back for the smooth comment. The what? Amity asked, looking towards Luz. Oh, the shack is what Eda calls her house. Luz exclaimed as they walked through the school's exit into the front gate. Amity giggled at Luz's response before agreeing to stay over. After a quick text to Em, probably the more reasonable twin, Luz and Amity set off to the shack. "Hey, Eda," Luz exclaimed as she entered Eda's house. "Oh, hey, kid. I've barely seen you all week," Eda said as she walked into the living room. "Oh, hey, Blight kid." "Hello," Amity quietly said back, waving unsurely. "I don't bite. Most of the time," Eda said, noticing Amity's uncertainty. "So, how finals go, kiddos?" "I'm pretty sure I won," Luz said, playfully nudging Amity, who rolled her eyes and smiled. "Since when did tests become about winning?" Eda asked, before quickly adding, "I wish I won tests back in school. It would have made cheating even funnier." "Hey, could you head upstairs? I want to talk to Eda about something personal real quick," Luz said to Amity, gesturing to the staircase. "It'd only take a minute." "Yeah, sure." Amity nodded and went to Luz's room, sitting down at her desk. "What up, kid?" Eda asked seriously after seeing Luz's nervousness. "If I get a higher score than Amity on the finals..." Luz made sure Amity wasn't listening and leaned in closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. "I'm gonna ask her on a date." Eda leaned back and whistled loudly. "I didn't think you'll ever make a move on her, kid." "Shush," Luz loudly said, quickly looking at the stairs again to make sure Amity still wasn't there. "She's right upstairs," Luz whispered again. Sorry, kid," Eda said, grinning wildly. "It's just, my niece is all grown up." She wiped a non-existent tear from her eye dramatically. "So, kid, I bet you didn't come to brag. What do you need?" Eda asked, lowering her voice again. "Where do I ask? How do I ask? What do I do if she says no? What if she agrees? Where would we go?" Luz mumbled, pacing back and forth. "Calm down, kid. Just ask when it feels natural. She won't say no to you. You're a good kid, and you two get along great." Eda said back, standing up and patting her hands on Luz's shoulders, holding her in place. "Just be you, and be confident." Luz smiled and nodded. "I shouldn't keep her waiting." Eda nodded in agreement and let go of Luz, watching as she went upstairs. "Jeez," Eda mumbled, settling back down on the couch. "How did I ever get so good at giving advice like that?" She put a golden heart-shaped locket out of her shirt, the silver chain looping around her neck with a click. It opened and revealed a small picture of a person with bluish hair, dressed in a green uniform. They were standing beside Eda, in the front of a small bookstore. "It had to be your doing, wasn't it, Raine?" she whispered, closing the locket and dropping it down. "I'm here," Luz said, walking into the room. Amity was sitting at her desk, looking at the framed pictures that sat on it. "Everything okay?" Amity asked, swiveling in the chair to face Luz. "Everything's great," Luz said, smiling warmly. "I can't wait to see my winning score tomorrow." "I was thinking the same thing," Amity said teasingly, a smile plastered to her face. "Rise and shine." Eda stopped as she opened the door, seeing the two girls sleeping and cuddled together. Eda closed the door and decided to just knock, avoiding the, probably, awkward situation. "Yeah?" Luz's muffled voice was the response to Eda's knocking. "Can I come in?" Eda asked innocently. 1 minute," Luz hastily said. Ruffling and whispering was heard as Luz presumably woke up Amity. The door opened, revealing Luz standing there as Amity was sitting up on the bed. "I hope the floor was comfortable," Eda said to Luz. "I didn't sleep on the floor," Luz said tiredly, falling victim to Eda's trap. "Oh, well, the Blight kid is on the bed, so unless you slept there too..." Eda shrugged her shoulders, saying a quick, "Never mind," before turning around and walking away. "Oh, and breakfast is ready," Eda called over her shoulder. "Oh, she definitely knows." Amity laughed, walking up and standing beside Luz. "Definitely," Luz agreed. "Here you go, kid," Eda said, sliding pancakes onto the table. "Thanks, Eda," Luz said, picking up her fork. Thank you, Amity said too, starting to eat. You two better finish quickly so you can go see your test scores, Eda reminded them, sitting down to eat her own plate. Oh, Luz said, choking on her breakfast in the process. You can't go see it if you're dead, Eda mumbled, shaking her head. Luz and Amity quickly ate and ran out the door, yelling goodbyes, and they ran full speed to the school. By the time they got there, Luz felt like she was going to lose her breakfast. Whether it was from the running right after eating or the stress of the final exams, she'll never know. Come on! Amity dragged Luz to the bulletin board, currently surrounded by students, giving them both flashbacks. You bullied me last time we stood here, Luz said, causing Amity to go silent. Sorry? It sounded more like a suggestion than an apology, causing them both to laugh. In my defense, I also helped you calm down after you lost. I was only upset because you were going to kick me out of the school. Fair point. You know, I'm glad everything went how it did. Because now, well, look at us. Close friends, Luz exclaimed, a wide smile spreading across her face. Amity smiled as she thought back to how they met, how Luz had knocked her over. Yeah, I'm glad you toppled over me in the hallway on your first day, Amity said sarcastically. I apologize for that, even though it was your fault. No one should lean against the lockers in a crowded hallway, Luz exclaimed, her face hurting from the smile that seemed permanent as long as Amity was around. The halls had clears as students left, seeing their scores quickly and continuing on their Saturday normally. Luz and Amity approached the board, both just as nervous, as they were the first time they did this. As they stopped directly in front of the board, they quickly looked up to the top of the chart, their focus drifting as they simmered through places. 3 to 10. None of their names were there. One of them placed first, the other second. They hastily looked towards the first spot. The top spot. Haha, got him. Cliffhanger. I love these. What happened next? Guess you'll never know until the next chapter, which is the last chapter, unless I want to make a bonus one. I'm already writing the bonus chapter. Dude, every time I see, unless I'm writing a bonus one. Kingston, you're gonna write a bonus one. Let's be honest. Whenever you say, okay, it's only gonna be this many words, what's it called? This many chapters long. Kingston, let's be honest here. Is it really? Is it really? I'm just saying. Okay. Chapter 18, the final chapter. It is gonna be roughly around 20 minutes long. And I believe, I'm not gonna read ahead. I'm not. And I wanted some eat out Raine action. Fuck. Okay, anyways, I'm not gonna read ahead, but Luz got top place. Luz got top, Amity got second. Is this right? Am I right? Is this it? Also, the audio thing was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Honestly, I don't know what I expect. Kingston, look, Kingston, listen to me. Look, I know deep in my heart that you're not good with angst and that your angst isn't angst, and isn't heavy angst, and it gets resolved fast. Not that it's not heavy angst, because some of the stuff, specifically with Togo Chaco, specifically, what's it called? It wasn't the song for the Tuna Bluff. Villainous. Specifically, it was villainous, with that whole, were you playing me kind of situation that was happening. That was really angsty. You just don't prolong it enough. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm not telling you to do that. Please don't. Please don't. But you don't prolong it enough, right? So you don't let it simmer and boil there just enough to make it really hit. Because you don't need something super traumatic to make an angsty story, right? You don't. You could, well, you don't, okay? You don't. Anyways, but, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I expect each time. If I'm being honest, I think it's part of, it's nothing to do with your angst, Kingston, right? Because you're more fluff, and your angst is really short-lived, which I'm not criticizing at all. Please keep it that way. Please. I have been burned by many authors before you. Please. Please. God, I cannot recover from that one fan fiction before my heart gives out. Freaking hurt. that shit burned. That shit burned, and it burned deep. It was a deep scar. But I feel like the reason why I keep thinking that you, Kingston, are gonna do something really big that's gonna break my heart in these fics is because most authors do something really big that breaks my heart. Most authors do really angsty stuff. So, I'm traumatized. You see, Kingston, I have trust issues. I have author trust issues with Fluff and Angst. I have trust issues. And it's really hard sometimes because, you know, and it's just, I'm just sitting there and I'm reading, and then angst happens. And sorry, I don't know why I decided to start pretend crying there. But, no, yeah, like something super sweet be happening, and then boom! 3 iconic bombs. It actually happened once. It was a Wattpad fanfiction, and it wasn't My Hero Academia, and I was so fucking bombarded. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Surprisingly, that's not where the story ended. Look, that shit went a really weird turn. I'm so glad for tags now. Look, tags are my lifesaver, even though I don't read them, okay? When I want to read them, I'll read them. But when I get burned because I don't read them and random shit happens, well, that's on me, okay? On Wattpad, back in the old ages, back in the dark ages, if like random Mpreg happened and you didn't want to read Mpreg or water sports, or heaven forbid a baby fic. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for a baby fic, okay? If I'm not ovulating, I don't want a fucking baby fic. If I'm not... Look, if I just came back from taking care of my siblings for like 4 hours where they're screaming, yelling, mind you, it's like 3 kids with ADHD, or 2 kids with ADHD and 1 teen with ADHD, trust me, I do not want to be reading any baby fic or any Mpreg fic, because it makes me think of, like, kids. And no. So, like, situational. But, like, whenever that happened, I couldn't blame anybody. Like, anybody. There's nobody to blame. It just happened. Maybe this is why I can't read books. Because I need to know the tags, like, fully. Why don't we have tag systems for books? That would be cool. All books would have beta read. Die like blank. Love that. No, it's beta red. Nobody dies, I guess. Beta red. Characters still die. Hee hee. Okay, like, imagine, like, those type of tags, but, like, published books. I want that. I need that. If I ever publish a book, I'm putting AO3 tags in the summary. Okay, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.